A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, just waiting.
It's lights out and away we go. It's a great start from Sebastian Vettel. We come up the inside. McLaughlin gets it to They run, but the Red Bull Racing man has got through. The champion's done the job. They're all gone. They're all gone. Tander's off. McLaughlin's off. Big Rube, Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. There's another 7-time champ. Jimmy Johnson wins his 7th NASCAR Sprint Cup championship.
G'day everybody and welcome to round 5, the AMS Oz Supercars series. Tonight we're coming to you from Barbagallo Raceway, just a short drive from the most isolated capital city in the world, Perth, Western Australia. As always, for Short Shift Podcast and the Apex Rear Wing broadcast team, my name's Stairs. The man alongside me in the commentary box tonight is Madbird.
G'day, Stairs. Never been to Perth. I'm loving the weather.
Are you?
No, it's shit.
Oh, what are we? A minute in, you've already dropped that one on
good.
us.
Oh,
So,
I do apologise. Anyway,
yeah, well, Brock did it the other on Sunday, so I suppose you're off the hook in that regard. But you don't get any more warnings. It's all she wrote. Anyway, well, how are you, Madbird? Are you looking forward to the racing tonight?
I am. Last time out at Phillip Island was possibly the most insane, exciting race that I've ever seen outside of Baku. So I'm very keen for what's going to get served up this evening.
And well done, Barbagallo. We may well
Absolutely.
be saying at the end of today. But
Well done, Barbagallo.
in the meantime, we're going to take a quick look at the point standings, as you alluded to. The points, obviously, last week they went in tied, Lewis Wedding and Brenton Hobson. But Hobson ended up edging Wedding out for a few points after both of them made the same mistake in the pits.
Absolutely, yeah. So Brenton currently heading the championship with 54 points. Following up behind him is Aaron Thomas with 51. Decent race for him. Lewis Wedding dropping down to third, 50 points. It's difficult to say drop down when he's only 3 points behind, or 4 points behind rather. But made the exact same error as Hobbo. Both of them failing to pit for tyres and costing themselves. Matt Williams, decent consistency, netting him up in fourth with 40 points.
Lead Pro B runner after Baker's engine failure. Sorry to cut across you there.
No, absolutely. Baker, as you say, down in fifth position with 39 points. So he's all over the back of Scruff. Is Baker, the lead ARW representative. Will Devonish and Brock Harvey, another two Pro B runners with 32 and 26 points respectively, and Aiden Schultz, a lower down Pro A runner, not sure what he's doing down there, with 24 points, and Dwayne Davies and Ethan Greg Galt rounding out the top 10 with 21 and 20 points respectively. And Ethan, with all of those 20 points coming in a single win back at Albert Park. So is he joining us tonight? He's not in the server as of yet.
No, and that graphic's incorrect actually. He's no Pro B. He's definitely Pro A. He comes from the world of iracing, and he's just done that one race in Albert Park in round 2, and absolutely dominated that race, and we haven't seen him since. So obviously below his pay grade, but we'll see.
Also, sorry, cut across you. I will say also tied on 10th and conspicuous by his absence is Sam Dunstall, who had an incredible debut in the Pro AB V8 Supercars last time out, managing to take the win in incredible style, capitalising on Hobbo and Lewis's mistakes. So hopefully he rocks up before the off. I was looking forward to seeing him race tonight.
Indeed. Well, there's a few aliens have come in for one race and netted themselves a 100% win rate and then buggered off. But
Buggered off.
yeah. Well, we saw last week in the Porsche Super Series that Dane Warren and his brother and various other iRacing aliens came in and showed the existing top echelon of this sport a little bit of manners, and Dane Warren was absolutely unbeatable at Winton last week. So well, we've seen some practice times from him on the server. He's been up there, but we haven't yet seen him. So whether or not he'll drop in just before qualifying starts, we don't know. We haven't seen him just yet.
He might be he might just be a show up and drive driver. He might do better just jumping straight in without all the practice. Who knows how these aliens work? I certainly don't, and I've been abducted and probed by them. So we hopefully we get a couple of them turning up. Although it would rob us of an interesting battle at the front between Hobbo and Lewis.
Well, it depends which aliens show up and whether those aliens are of equal or greater mass to one another. But moving on, we'll just have a quick look before we run you through the practice times. We're just going to give you a little bit of a update on the race format. And forgive me, I've forgot to update that graphic on your screen, but I can tell you that it's a 51-lap race tonight, which means that they'll be travelling a distance of 122 kilometres. 0.9 kilometres, so near enough 123, and a lot of right-hand corners, which means that the left-hand tyres of the cars are going to be screaming. And whether or not it's a 1 or a 2 pit stop strategy tonight, that will be the biggest question, I think.
Yeah, it's an odd circuit. I've not raced it myself, but I can only imagine that throughout the entire rest of the circuit, your right tyres are completely cold. And then there's that one pretty sizable left-hander right smack dab in the middle, and I can imagine that plays havoc when your right-hand tyres have barely got any temperature in them.
Yes, I'm
watching Aaron Thomas go wide through it at the moment, so I feel like that's going to be very interesting to watch.
Definitely pay attention on safety car restarts if those tyre temperatures drop. I mean, they'll be cold anyway, those right-hand side tyres going into that corner most of the time you go in there, but if they're even a little bit colder than normal, it might make that corner a bit of a handful. We've seen a few people in practice going off there, and just speaking of practice, as you can see, the man on your screen at the moment, Brenton Hobson, has set the best time by some 0.6 of a second at the moment over Dwayne Davies. He's changed his livery to one of the other Holden Racing Team cars, gone for a more modern livery, still a Lowndes livery this week, but not the 1996 one he used last week.
Absolutely, Dwayne Davies, as you say, about 0.6 back on him, and just under 0.6 back from him, and Lewis Wedding about 0.6 back from him, so very close between second and third in practice. It'll be interesting to see if Lewis can pull it out of the hat when he needs to during qualifying.
Indeed,
Baker's
just surpassed Lewis for third place there, so he's looking pretty strong around here. So he has a bit of a rivalry going on with Matt Williams there, only 1 point separating those two for best of the Pro B runners, as it looks like Hobson has... we've ended the session there, so we've ticked over. Fantastic. Well, I have a feeling Lewis Wedding is a bit closer to than that. I just think he might be disguising his pace somewhat in that practice session. We'll see what he actually has to offer in this qualifying session once it gets underway very shortly.
Is the psychological game real, Stairs? Do you think? Do you think if
you better believe it is?
If you don't appear as fast during practice and then you pull it out in qualifying, does that really accomplish much?
Well, it's one might say it doesn't, as a casual observer. But when you're in there and you think, oh, I've got this guy, look, I've got 0.6 on him, and then he comes and pulls a lap out of the hat and smashes your time, then it just gives you something to think about before the race when you really should be thinking about yourself, you're thinking about someone else. So whether or not Brenton Hobson is someone who he's very experienced. I don't know whether he will be susceptible to those sorts of techniques. But having said that, he's first man on track, so he's eager to get going.
Yeah, he's wanting to put all that out of his mind and just get him his gloves on the wheel. Nothing else but him and the track.
Second man on track behind him is Matt Williams, who he obviously wants to get a nice, good qualifying time in early. We saw this in Symmons Plains, people all taking to the track very early. Those two are the only guys on track, so patience is something that this field has they seem to have discovered in the previous round. And there isn't actually any limitation on the number of laps that they have anymore, so that's no longer the case. You've got 15 minutes, you can do as many laps as you can fit into that time space.
Which is quite a lot around Barbagallo.
Well, that's it.
Do about 15 laps. Well, now
if you're fueled up from the whole of them, the tyres certainly wouldn't last that long. But we're going to jump on board to see how Brenton Hobson attacks this on his very first qualifying lap, as he exits turn 1 there, and up the hill through the S's here and approaching the only left-hand corner on the track, and taking a tight line there. The graphics or the textures on the road suggesting that the line is a bit wider than that, but I would probably say that Hobbo is the one to trust on that one as he breaks down into turn 6, one of the overtaking opportunities here. He's got the headlights on because Lee Sanford there is ahead of him, is on an outlap, and he wisely moves himself off the racing line onto the right hand side, so Hobbo has an unimpeded view down the hill as he approaches the final corner. Very tricky braking zone, another potential overtaking point as he takes just a little bit of curb, a little bit wide on the exit, not too much actually, just grabs a small bit of curb, and across the line he's going to set a 55 flat to lay down the first benchmark of this qualifying session.
What a track to watch! Good lord, I wasn't quite aware of the elevation changes until I watched it from his cockpit view. That's intense.
They get some speed up down that back straight into the final corner.
What was the representative time in practice?
That's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. I don't know.
I'll now fill time while you find the answer to that question.
I can't do that because then the stream will stutter, so that might be something that you could do.
That's something I could possibly do, absolutely.
We don't have Bagsy in the pit lane for us tonight. We apologise for that, so we're going to try and keep across the pit stops as much as we can. Hubbo's up by another 0.03 of a second, so just warming up on this particular lap. Looks quite steady through the final corner. We'll see if it's better than his first attempt, and he finds another 0.3 in that final sector, and he's had a little bit of a wiggle on the first corner here, so I don't know if he's going to continue. He looks as though he is, and Baker goes second, a second behind, so no one else. Lewis Wedding is still in the pit lane, so that's very interesting. These mind games we speak of, I think Lewis is well across them. I think he likes a good mind game.
I think he also probably knows that he's probably better off not working himself up. If he gets out there, bashes in 2 hot laps, he'll probably bump himself up into a decent position. The best time in practice, by the way, was a 55.1 by
well,
Hobbo.
He's already blown that one into the weeds.
So yes, that's already been well and truly smashed. So
and speaking of smashing, I think he's going to go through and beat his time again because he was up by a 10th. And indeed he does. I think he's got more there because he lost a bit in the middle sector, did Hobbo. So, excuse me, as Aaron Thomas goes into second place there, but still well over a second behind Brenton Hobson. So unless Lewis can get in there, it's looking like a one-horse race. It's Dwayne Davies gets into second. So it's very close there for second, just a 10th or 2 separating those 3 drivers, Dwayne Davies, Aaron Thomas and Baker. But the man on your screen, Brenton Hobson, is the one who's setting the timing screens alight.
Absolutely. Lewis Wedding is now out on the track, so he's coming down towards the last corner.
So he's having a huge moment on the final corner, and that's stuffed the final part of his outlap, which is it's not part of his time lap. It's a pretty important part because this next lap's going to be complete binner, because he's not going to be able to get enough speed up. He's going to lose time once he crosses the line. Thankfully for him, it's a short run, so he might get himself a banker, but it's just not the most ideal preparation that Lewis Wedding could have had for his first qualifying lap.
That isn't what you need. That's going to rattle him throughout the rest of this lap, which obviously probably wouldn't be representative regardless, but still. As he has a moment coming through that left-hander. But hopefully he can pull himself together. 4/10 down.
He's 4/10 down on Hobbo's time though. If he has a decent sector, he'll still slot into second ahead of Baker, given the if he's on a par with Hobbo's pace.
So Hobbo currently
it's going to be tight
in a world of his own. essentially, just staring off into infinity and wondering where everyone else is as he's 1.1 seconds up. Lewis is going to be slotting into second, I would expect.
I think he might lose a bit in this final bit. We'll see.
Where did he must have got
I think he must have got a track cut there because the timers were coming up, but he didn't register one when he went across the line, so not sure what happened there.
Currently the only runner not to set a time, so he's going to want to get that in. You want to get, as he's actually up by 5,000.
So here we go. The behaviour of the car is very different to when we watched Hobson. He was very calm, just easing the car into those corners. No theatrics, but Wedding is wiggling everywhere.
He's overdriving the hell out of the car, but it seems to be working for him. Although, as I say that, never mind. Seems to have lost it all through.
Only a tenth, though.
That turn, whatever number turn that is.
I lost track because I looked away at the screen. So I think that was turn 6 he was going through as you were speaking. But I think this will be good enough for second. And indeed it is, but he's lost a fair bit in those last 2 sectors. And that's not... That sort of driving is going to wear those tyres out very quickly. So that sort of enters us into the subject of whether or not this is a 2-stop or a 1-stop race. And we know some of the guys further back are possibly thinking about doing that. But if I was Brenton Hobson, the way he's just neatly getting the car into the corners, I think he'll be going for a 1-stop. And I don't know if Wedding can make the tyres last for a 1-stop.
Yeah, no, I don't. You could probably get away with just changing the right-hand, the left-hand tires, and not bothering with the right-hand.
Can you do that in the B8s though? Can you change one side independent of the other?
I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure I remember many moons ago in the ARW V8 series doing something similar, but I could be misremembering. But I'm fairly certain you can. And if that's an option, I would say that's the option to go for because you're barely going to be using the right-hand tyres.
Absolutely, only one corner to wear them out on.
And Lewis has aborted that lap as Cracker was unfortunately found himself on track directly in front of him. So Johnny's missing a rear wing, it appears.
Oh, I wonder if we can see what has happened to Johnny. He's obviously gone to the pits, and we're just going to have a quick look to see if we can capture that. He's coming up the hill through the right-hander and just looks like he might have lost it on the exit there. He lost a wheel as well in that accident, so big crash for Johnny.
Absolutely, the pit lane screaming Perth. We know where we are. You don't have to keep telling us. Lewis exiting the pits with better part of 6.5 minutes to go. Taking an interesting line across the pit exit, but he's going to have a bit of time to bank in some more laps and try to nail back that 3.5 tenths he's got.
Johnny on his out laps, getting the blue flags for Dwayne Davies though, but he's about to start his fast lap and he's just gone. He's dipped a wheel into the grass at the final corner, and again a really bad place to have a spin because you're going to go all the way around, albeit the pain not as bad as at some other tracks where you've got a longer lap. And those rears are going to be no good at all. And hopefully there's no one coming around that corner on a fast lap because he's right on the racing line. But
honestly,
it looks like
I would have aborted that lap. I would have slipped into the pits, got some new rubber, and come back out again because those tyres are going to be overheated.
And this lap's useless anyway because you're not going to have the speed.
So you might as well use it as an out lap as he's binned it again.
Well, the tyres are too hot.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, he spun on. He's in a completely different part of the track. We're going to have a little look at that one, I think.
He's wound up back where he started this lap.
So we're going to go on board. So here he is coming up the hill, up turn 2, 3, and just grabs the curb on the inside, and oh goodness, he's accelerated that accident by hitting the throttle on it, and that was. One wonders if that was the smartest thing to do because he could have come out anywhere and finds himself at the scene of his previous accident on the final corner. So that was entertaining.
As he was bouncing...
He's never the one to give up. He's coming back out onto the track for another go.
As he bounced across that fence and was heading towards that back straight, I had horrible visions in my mind of Lewis Wedding on a hot lap, 4 tenths up on Hobbo, just then a Johnny comes out of nowhere and completely pile drives him into the wall, and my life flashed before my eyes for a second, Stairs, but luckily it wasn't to be.
Luckily it wasn't to be. Wedding was on a lap just then, but he's quit out of it very quickly indeed, so obviously it wasn't fast enough. Hobbo takes a very wide line on the exit of the curb at the final corner, and I don't know if that actually registered him a time, so the game very harsh on those track cuts on the final corner by the looks of it.
Might be something interesting to keep an eye on in the race. You get 3 of them, and then you receive a drive-through penalty, I believe.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. That is the rule. And, these guys will have watched the Virgin Australia Supercar Series on the weekend from Barbagallo, and they would have seen a lot of the guys in real life taking that line wide past the curb and then back onto the track, and that was something that they got away with in real life, but the game with not such a generous outlook on the track limits.
Yeah, it's difficult because that's sort of your natural instinct is to use as much of the track, and all this concrete on the left hand side. Why am I not using it? And then your lap doesn't count. But Brenton Hobson has managed to pull. He was half a tenth down at the second sector, at the third sector split, sorry, and he managed to end up half a tenth up on his best time. So whatever he did through that last sector, it worked. He's now extended his lead over Lewis to a full 4 tenths, and he's another 1/10 up on his time. What is this man doing?
Well, he's finding time. He's like a metronome, just banging out those sector times, and it's mightily impressive because the car just isn't dancing around. He's got that thing stable, and he's obviously very happy with whatever setup he's chosen for this car, in a way that others aren't.
Half a tenth up.
He's actually lost a bit in the middle sector there, I think, because he was up by more than that in the full, and that's a bit. That was a bit of theatrics, but it was all, and he's lost it all in the final sector. So he hasn't strung together his best lap, and that's something that will worry the others because he's 4 tenths ahead of Lewis Wedding, who's on another attempt to try and improve himself.
Lewis he put the brakes on right in the middle of that turn 6 as he was sort of hitting the apex. He realised he was going to overshoot and had to tap the brakes a little bit. It's just going to have lost him that little bit of time that he would have needed. That said, he was only a tenth down on Hobbo, so still a decent effort.
He improves by 1/100th, and he can't do anything on this lap because he's just caught up to Cracker.
Cracker again.
So that's not ideal. I don't know why he's continuing, honestly, because he's not going to set a PB on this lap. There's nearly contact there. He's gone off at the same spot Johnny did. And, if Lewis Wedding isn't cursing and swearing in that helmet,
Stairs, I feel like Lewis might be getting a little bit frustrated. That was... I think he tried to overtake Cracker there into turn 4, the left-hander.
I think he's frustrated. But, I mean, Cracker had every right to be there. He was on a lap himself.
Absolutely.
And you've got to make the space on track. Oh, absolutely. You've got to make the space on track as you need it. I mean, it's only if they're on an out lap, of course, they're required to yield.
Anyone not currently on the track will not have time to get around for another lap. So Lewis is going to have to settle for second.
And also Aaron Thomas, Lee Sanford, and Brenton Hobson. So, I mean, of those, the only one who is in the top sort of few is...
We've lost 2 people by the looks of it.
That's unfortunate. Yes, we're down to 9 runners, so that's not ideal. Dwayne Davies, we haven't really spoken much of, but he's done very well there, up in 9th place. He's been chipping away on Hobbo's time. He's within a second now, and so that means that he's about 3 tenths clear of Baker in 4th place. So someone crashes in the background. I heard it, but I didn't see who it was. But he's just been chipping away on his PB.
Appears we've lost Johnny and someone else that I can't recall. I do apologise if you're listening. But yeah, so Johnny dropping out down to 9 now. So it's going to be quite a small field for this race.
I have had a bit of a chat with Matt Williams earlier on, and they were saying if the numbers didn't get up, then there was a chance they'd combine the Pro-Am and Pro-AB race, so the Pro-Am guys would be at the back of this field for a full grid. If we didn't get enough runners for this one, and looking that way at this stage with 9 of them at the moment.
Could potentially follow up with Matt Williams about that. except he is nowhere to be seen.
Well, he's on track. Well, he's not on track, but he's in the pit lane. He's obviously probably quite busy trying to sort that out as we speak.
Probably.
But that was the plan at the last time I heard. The classes would still be separate in terms of the results. So your Pro AB and your Pro Am results would be separate. So if you're the first of the Pro Am runners on the track, you have effectively won that race. And if you're in Pro AB and you're behind someone,
endurance race.
Yeah, exactly. We just probably wouldn't hand out points for the outright result. We hand it out for the class result. So even if you're a Pro AB runner behind a Pro Am driver, then that wouldn't count as a position lost in Pro AB for the purposes of points. So I hope you're keeping up with us there, because we're always kept on our toes by these guys. We had a fair bit of space to fill last week when the server crashed after 4 laps, and there's still the distinct possibility that could happen. Today, let's try not to think about that. No, it's a possibility, but I don't think it will happen, but it is merely a possibility. If we get large numbers of people again, like we did last week. But, well, we're in the warm-up session now, so that gives us a chance to have a bit of a quick break.
Absolutely.
And on the other side of that break, we're going to go and, we're going to come back and we'll be ready for racing. See you soon.
A lot of people go through life doing things
Piss.
badly. Racing's
I'm going,
important
trust me.
to do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, just waiting.
It's lights out and away we go. It's a great start from Sebastian Vettel. Wing come up the inside. McLaughlin gets it to They run, but the Red Bull Racing man has got through. The champion's done the job. They're all gone. Tanner's off. McLaughlin's off. Make room. Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. There's another 7-time champ. Jimmy Johnson wins his 7th NASCAR Sprint Cup championship.
And welcome back. We are 3 minutes away from the beginning of the race. I'd like to apologise. I left my mic on before when I might have said something that I wasn't meant for your ears. Thank you for the comment details. Yes, I did mean pit. That was exactly what I said, wasn't it? No real takers apart from Will Devonish onto the racetrack during this warm-up session. This does afford the drivers an opportunity for, I was about to say, practicing your pit exit or doing a race start, but Devonish taking the opportunity to practice his burnouts. For a post-pole interview. How? It must be. Well, we've seen that you've done some, I think, Assetto Corsa running in this track, so obviously that is that helping in any way? Because obviously the game is probably going to feel a little bit different. The track might feel a little bit different in parts as a result. Fair enough. And the car looking pretty stable under you there, whereas others were sort of wiggling around and spinning it up here. You seem to be keeping the thing in a straight line pretty comfortably without too many theatrics.
I thought the car felt pretty stable here, pretty decent grip, so I was pretty comfortable straight off the bat.
Excellent. Well, that obviously stands you in good stead for the race. Obviously, you remembered to change your tyres this week.
Well, I haven't done that yet. We need to worry. We'll see how we go mid-race when I get all confused and forget to do it.
Excellent. Any idea whether it's a one-stop or a two-stop for you? Or are you keeping your cards close to your chest on that one?
Just go as fast as you can until it doesn't drive anymore, and then come in and get tyres. That'll be the trick. And hope that you remember to change them.
Fair enough. Well, good luck. You've got about, I think, 40 seconds until the session rolls over into the race itself. So we better let you get back to that one. And good luck for the race itself. Thank you.
Cheers for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed, Brenton Hobson, for joining us there, our pole sitter for tonight.
It's quite exciting, just getting to have a little chat with him and stuff. I like it.
It is, he's just obliterated the field, and he's got such a casual attitude about this. It's very endearing, isn't it?
It is.
Unless you're one of the other 9 others.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
Have you looked at Will Devenish's livery?
Yes, I'm looking at it right now, actually.
Have you looked at the front of it specifically?
Let's go in for a closer look. Hey, oh, okay.
And also the rear of it. It's certainly a livery that is bold and uncompromising. It's
okay, right.
Yeah. I just noticed that.
Well, it's unfortunate from his perspective that there's only 2 people behind it to see that, but there's plenty of people in front of it to.
To read the warning.
Although it's not written mirrored, so if you're looking at it in your mirrors, it's not really going to show up anyway.
Deck cuff air oi.
Very good. Well, it looks like we've just got the 10 runners now. We've had someone join back in by the looks of it. So the Pro-Am runners not joining us, as the case may be.
Absolutely. So small field, but considering some of the guys in it, I'm sure we definitely won't be wanting for action.
We got plenty of our favourites in this race, Madbird, don't we?
Absolutely. Not that we have favourites.
Lewis Wedding hasn't made it to the track. He's still there in the pits.
Oh no!
Is this a restart? There's a bunch of cars still stuck.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
What is going on? All right, he has made it. I don't know what's happened there. Whether it was a reset. All right, Lewis Wedding fans, all had your hearts in your mouth there. He has made it to the grid. He starts second behind Brenton Hobson, and Dwayne Davies in 3rd place. Stone Brothers Racing, excellent qualifying session for him, as well as Baker, who is a mark of consistency, well ahead of his closest rival in the championship, Matt Williams. Aaron Thomas starts 5th, and he's, speaking of consistency, he's currently 2nd in the championship through downright consistency. Hasn't won a race, but he's got 3 podiums to his name, and the only bad result coming in Melbourne with a 12th place. Brock Harvey sporting a new livery, the MHRT sponsorship there. So obviously felt that the green was a bit unlucky for him as Aaron Thomas goes off ahead of him in the warm-up lap. Will Devenish, who we spoke of before, with a bold livery, car number 15. Certainly not going to miss him on track. And Matt Williams scruffed there, number 37. He lines up 8th ahead of Lee Sanford in the Mark Scaife 2004 car. Cracker in 10th place in the Penrite Hungry Jacks car. And that is our full grid as Hobson lines his car up on the grid. So interesting thing about this grid is that it's not staggered too much. So this Wedding starts pretty much alongside Hobbo. And if he does get a good start, then he's got the inside line into turn 1.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's definitely not something you're going to complain about. It looks like he has put his car as far forwards on that thing as he possibly can. We've got the lights going.
We got the lights going for round number 5 of the Supercars series, and it's a pretty damn good launch there for Lewis Wedding. Is he going to get to the first corner first, or will it be Brenton Hobson? They're going to go through side by side, and Wedding's going to have the whole shot by the looks of it. But what can Hobbo do? Can he fight back through? No, he's got it. Wedding is in the lead.
Absolutely fantastic start there from Lewis. Back further in the field. great start from Will Devonish, managing to dive up the inside of Brock Harvey and Lee Sandford, who's managed to get up to 5th. And Aaron Thomas, and is now all over the back of Dwayne Davies. So that livery may be putting off the cars in front a little bit.
Yeah, so Baker got himself up into 3rd place, and Hobbo took an awful lot of curbs through the turn 2-3 section there, and the two of them are just pulling away in leaps and bounds from 3rd place man Baker as they go down the hill for the first time out of 51.
Absolutely. Oh, so Lewis will be... Oh, God!
Dwayne Davies has gone through, and Baker's getting absolutely mugged there on the rundown. Look at the start that Will Devonish had. Will Devonish is going to try and outbrake Baker. There's no way through. Baker's cutting off the line, and there's contact through there into turn 1, but Baker holds on to 4th place just for now. And Brenton Hobson still chasing down Lewis Wedding. We don't know where to look here.
Absolutely, there is action all through the field. Aaron Thomas up the inside of Will Devonish through the left-hander. That's not going to work, mate. We've got Lewis spreading his advantage a little bit out the lead. That is exactly what he needed to start this race. He needed to get the job done straight away, and then he just needs to put his head down, defend well, and hold on to that position. He's
got a long way to go now. 51 laps, and intriguing tyre strategy to think about before we even get to the last lap to think about crowning our winner here. But it's currently Lewis Wedding by less than 0.3 of a second, and will Brenton Hobson be close enough to have a go into turn 1? He's going to be patient, I would have thought. Both of their brake lights going on in the same split second. A little bit wide, is it there for Lewis Wedding? They both missed the apex, but it is still Lewis Wedding leading, and Brenton Hobson second. Dwayne Davies starting to gap Baker again after that audacious move at the final corner in the first lap. Behind Baker, an angry pack of Will Devonish, Aaron Thomas, Brock Harvey, Cracker, and Matt Williams down there in 9th. He's a fair way back.
Hobson has got a fantastic run on Lewis through turn 6. He is all over the back of him. He's going to get an immense slipstream down this back straight and down this hill. I reckon he's going to have a go.
Is he going to send it? Or Lewis is defending there. He's gone for the inside, but then he's gone back to the braking line. He's realised he thinks that Hobbo's too close to make the move, and very close to the track limits there was Hobbo on the exit.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we've got Will Devonish still down in 5th position, so fantastic start from him. Aaron Thomas definitely not giving that position up. He's got the championship to worry about. He's all over the back of him going through the first corner. Nearly tapping him on the butt, but managing to avoid it.
And Lewis Wedding is wide through the only left-hand corner, or he cuts back in. That's one of the, as they go up towards turn 6, and they're very, very close. Lewis is absolutely on the limit of his tyres here. How long can they last like that? We spoke to Matt Williams earlier in the race. He says they're not fine after 20 laps, but they're almost undrivable after 24. So do you know what he did? He made the race 51 laps.
What an inspired decision, as Hobbo's gone for the inside, but just not enough. Lewis is just doing enough through that turn 6, although Hobbo's all over his backside coming through that last corner. Coming down the straight, he might be able to get the job done, but he's managed to lose a bit of time. So Lewis defending as well as he can, although he goes a bit wide there, but
he's late apexing that corner, Madbird. I think he's just trying to... He doesn't think that in this early stage of the race that Brock's going to do a Coriot and send it down there, as I frost all over my desk. And so it's a time of waiting if you're Brenton Hobson. And oh crap, there's paper all over the ground. I've just dropped everything. It's all right. Yes. You take over.
Absolutely. So yeah, Hobson can. He was faster than Lewis in qualifying. He knows this. Lewis obviously a little bit rattled by being in the lead.
Close. He's close as they go over the crest down into the hill. Is he going to have a look? It's going to be very tight. Wedding is absolutely masterful under brakes. I think it's going to come from an error, if anything, and they're very, very close through that corner, almost side by side. And Hobson just looks like he's going to have an opportunity at every corner, and Wedding's just going to get through 7 corners every lap for the next 45 laps to somehow win this race and also get the penalty.
Oh, that's it.
Also get the pit stop, I should say, not the penalty.
Not get a penalty, ideally.
Indeed.
It looks as if on that back straight, when Hobson is catching him all the way up to that sheer drop, and then that must just give Lewis that little bit of pace that he needs to keep ahead of him, because Hobson every single time, we're going to see it again now, although he looks a little bit further back this time. Every single time, Hobson looks like he's going to be close enough to have a go down the inside. But then Lewis is just that little bit far enough ahead that there's no space for him to give it a go.
That's right. So Matt Williams, we didn't see what happened to him at the start, but he was about 9 seconds off that sort of battle pack, including Brock Harvey, Cracker, Devonish and Thomas. He's just pulling that back now. Looks like it's about sort of 5 or 6 seconds. In fact, it looks like Brock Harvey's actually dropped into the clutches of that of Matt Williams there. So 8th and 9th, those two at the moment, as we continue to look at our guys battling for the lead here.
Sorry, I've got Will Devonish. Looks like Aaron Thomas has managed to get back past Will Devonish finally, and Devonish now under pressure from Cracker. Cracker was all over him going through the first corner, but Devonish has managed to defend that position. Heading down towards turn 6, that Hungry Jack's car is looming very large into the curves.
You'll forgive us if we continue looking at this battle for the lead just for the moment, but it looks like Lewis Wedding's just starting to gap Hobson ever so slightly, although Hobson closing up under brakes in that final corner quite a lot and taking a fair bit of liberties with the track. I'd say it's not actually that wide, but given what we know that the track does in terms of counting track cuts, that might have been a little bit close for comfort if you're Brenton Hobson.
Absolutely. There'd be nothing worse than one of these two getting a track cut drive-through penalty for slipping over that curb one too many times. So that's definitely something they're going to have to think about. There's a fairly hefty gap between these two. About 6 seconds back down to Dwayne Davies, who in turn has a 2.5 second gap over Baker. Baker not very far ahead of Aaron Thomas at all, only about half a second. So Aaron Thomas looking to get himself back up towards the podium. Cracker still pressuring Devonish, but looks like he's eased off a tiny bit. Brock Harvey basically in a race of his own at the moment. And Matt Williams also by himself, 7 seconds down on Brock Harvey.
Lee Sanford on his own too.
Lee Sanford, yeah, he's going incredibly slowly. So not sure if he's got some damage or if he's just had some dramas, but he's about 12 seconds down on 9th place, Matt Williams.
Well, the timing screen not showing a lap time for Aaron Thomas and Lee Sanford the last time they crossed the line, or Aaron Thomas has just crossed the line, so he's got one. So one would think that's probably because there was a track cut for them on the previous laps. So starting to rack up the track extending violations, some of these guys.
Absolutely, and yeah, as we say, not something that they want to make a habit of, because
not this early in the race.
No, there's many laps to go, and you don't want to be penalised for it.
Ooh, Hobson just locking up a little bit. It looks like he was just a little bit late on the brakes there, and very, very close to going back and into the back of Wedding. Oh, Wedding's sideways into the first corner there. His tyres are starting to scream just a little bit. The early stages of the beginning of the drop-off happening here. What a sentence that was, and
the early stages of the beginning.
Exactly. And even Hobson getting a little bit wide there. You feel like he might have been protecting his tyres a little bit in this stage of the race, just because he seems to, in qualifying, have the pace there, but Wedding is absolutely sideways there. That's going to give an opportunity to Brenton Hobson, because his exit speed won't be too flash, and he's absolutely tucked under the rear wing there of Lewis Wedding. He's going to have a go. Wedding has to defend. Wedding has to defend, but there's a car width and no more, and Wedding's forced to let Hobson through, and they're side by side. They're going through, and there's contact there. Door-to-door racing, but Brenton Hobson through into the lead of this race on lap 10.
Goodness me, that is, I think Lewis did quite well to hold him behind as long as he did, but good Lord, it goes to show how fast Hobson can be when he wants to be. He was all over the back of Lewis. Lewis Wedding number 2 for some reason. Position 2, never mind, I'm an idiot. Going through the only left-hander, Hobson already a couple of tenths up. Almost half a second actually on Wedding,
he's having another moment there, and Wedding, he's going to fall off the track if he tries to keep up with Hobson, because Hobson's like a cork out of a champagne bottle there. He's already got 7/10 of a second advantage over Lewis Wedding. And Dwayne Davies has had a moment there just as I've cut to him to have a look at how he's faring, and locked the inside front there. Not sure what part of the track that is. Just coming out of turn 6 that was, yeah, as he makes the run down the hill And
as
Aaron
if
Thomas has
Aaron-
got past
yeah.
Baker. I think that
Baker
happened
got
about a
that.
lap ago. And so Aaron Thomas with his speed, and he'll be looking to try and close in on Dwayne Davies, who's having a cracker of a race.
Hobson
Speaking
now
of cracker, he's up to 7th.
1.1 seconds up on Lewis. So, as Lewis has had a horrible moment, he's
Oh!
Lewis has spun going through the left-hander, and he is off the track.
He's going to lose a lap here, unless he
Oh.
can get back up that hill. I don't know if he's
no.
trapped there in the bottom of the.
Oh God, it's horrible.
We're going to have
I can
the humanity.
barely look.
We're going to have a look at the replay here.
This
We're
is
going to
like
try.
footage of the Holocaust. I just can't watch it.
Yeah, no, I can, but not footage of the car. Oh my goodness. He's just lost it there in turn 2. And that's all she wrote.
Oh. I'm just watching him. He's wiggling like it. This reminds me of the
He's still
scene
there.
in the Lost World, Jurassic Park,
He's
where
absolutely
Eddie is
completely stuck.
fishtailing the Jeep. He's trying to pull the RV back over the cliff, and that ditch is the 2 Tyrannosaurus Rexes just tearing him in half currently, and he's tearing us all in half. He is dropped to the 10th position. He's going to be lapped. He is lapped by
I don't know if he
4
can
runners,
even
5
recover
runners.
it to the track to actually get any points. Well, he's going to
looks
try
as
and
if he's managed
try and
to-
get
he's
some
managed to
momentum
get
to get
out.
up that hill, but he's made it. Now he's got to make it up the track. This is always the danger with this track. If you have a moment there, it's very difficult to recover it. And he's going to get the blue flags just to... and there is Aaron Thomas going through. So he was the 2 cars behind Lewis Wedding not a moment ago. He was leading this race 2 laps ago, and now he's very last on track. The one point of solace for him will be that there are only 10 runners in this race, so he'll still get a bag of points if he can finish. Well, actually, given that this series awards points regardless of whether you finish, he'll still get the points, and it looks like he's got a bit of damage that he's carrying there, and he actually needs to move over and let Baker through.
Get in the pits, Lewis.
Oh.
You should have got it. I would have gone straight into the pits. You got nothing to lose at this stage. Get some fresh tyres on. Try to claw some of that time back, because there's just going around again. Just is you're not going to do anything except annoy the people behind you. And that car is wiggling all over the place.
Yeah,
That
very
does
badly
not
damaged car. That
does
he's
not look
22 seconds behind Lee Sanford at the moment. So, and he does indeed let Baker go. So that'll be a relief for Baker, who can try and put a bit more pressure under Thomas. We know how consistent he is, but then Aaron Thomas is very consistent as well. But Aaron Thomas once again finds himself in a podium position. I mean, Hobson's cleared out and out front. He now has a 12-second advantage over Dwayne Davies, who's looking like he's on form for his best result in this season. Currently, his best results are 6th in the first round at Adelaide, so second place. And Wedding's going to take. He swaps across the front of Baker, and he's just a danger to everyone else in the state that his car is in at the moment. He needs to go into the pits and get repairs, because it's looking like it's undrivable.
Yeah, he's gonna cause nothing but problems out there as he is.
He already has.
Of course, but like it's not going to go upwards from here, is what I'm trying to say.
No.
He needs to get that car fixed up and just see what he can salvage from this. Which, I mean, you never know. There could be a safety car. There could be further issues.
Well, he desperately
But-
needs that safety car now. He's now dropped. He's 40 seconds behind Lee Sanford, so that gap is now doubled with the issues that he's having. We haven't actually got a time for his last lap, but he's 36 seconds on this first sector, where a normal sector time is something in the area of 19 seconds. So obviously that all lost early on. So not Wedding's finest moment.
Still going past the pit entry. Get in there, son. Just you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain at this stage. Just get it over and done with, and then you can get on with the rest of the race. I'm a self-professed Lewis Wedding fangirl, and it saddens me, Stairs. Saddens me greatly.
Brenton Hobson sublimely out front. He now has a 14-second lead, so I don't know if Dwayne Davies has lost it somewhere in the previous lap, because that was... Oh no, it was about 12 seconds there. What's his previous lap time? Yeah, I mean, he's about a second a lap slower than Hobson is, Dwayne Davies. And he's got the headlights on because he's coming up on Lee Sanford to lap him. very shortly, as Lee Sanford has something of a moment through turn 3. And, all Brenton Hobson has to do, as he said, is drive it till the tyres run out, and then come into the pits for some new freshies. And he's only got to make it probably another 8 or 9 laps, and then he'll be pretty comfortable, one would think. We haven't seen if anyone's come into the pits. We haven't actually had anyone with their eye on the pit lane during this the shenanigans that have unfolded over the last 5 or 6 laps.
Going by the gaps and the people and which people are in which positions, I don't believe anyone has pit yet.
Which is interesting because we had a lot of talk of 2 stops early on, but whether they're all trying to psych each other out, they knew that these tyres would be very, very difficult. And having said that, we're only 17 laps in, but if you were going to split the race equally into 3 parts, you'd want to pit around about now, or a little bit earlier even. What are they doing now? Baker there, let's look at him. He's done a 57 on the previous lap. That's about 7/10 off his best lap in this race. If you're only 7/10 off your best lap with the tyres at this sort of age, then you're not going to gain that time back in the pits with the new tyres if you make a pit stop, because the stationary time of changing all 4 tyres, or even if you only change 2 tyres, you just never make that back.
Absolutely. It's I'm surprised that we haven't had someone...
As we speak, Dwayne Davies is coming into the pit lane. So the first to blink is Dwayne Davies.
It'll be interesting to see how long this pit stop is, because I'm still not sure whether they can just change the one side or not. I imagine, so let's see, 1, 2...
You keep counting there, Madbird, and we'll just see if... Dwayne Davies is pitting there on lap 18. I'm going to note that one down, because...
10 seconds-ish was the pit stop, so...
It's a short stop.
That seems short for fuel and tyres, unless he's just fueled, but that seems insane.
Well, we know that the people didn't change tyres last week, and it became evident fairly quickly after they got back onto the track that the tyres were not really up to it. But one wonders why you'd come in for a stop like that. The advantage of running light at the start isn't that great that you go for a 2-stop without changing tyres, because that surely negates the whole point of doing a 2-stop race.
Yeah, and the way that Dwayne's car is acting implies that he does not have skateboards for tyres, so so about 10 seconds. I'm not sure how much fuel he would have needed to put in, if any. Did the fuel last till the end, or was it fuel limited the race?
No. There is a compulsory pit stop. You can make about 30 laps worth on a full tank, given the numbers that we saw in the practice session. Having said that, we didn't have some of our fast guys with numbers to work off, so we're going off people like Aaron Thomas and Brock Harvey for those kinds of numbers. So it might be slightly less if your name is Brenton Hobson or Lewis Wedding. But our eyes turn to Aaron Thomas and Brenton Hobson to see, because they're the guys closest on track to Dwayne Davies before the pit stop, and Aaron Thomas stays out, so he's continuing on. And I would think that he's going to go for a 1-stop. So Dwayne Davies seems to be... He's the one with the joker in the pack there. He's doing something different to what everyone else seems to. And, who have we got? Have we got anyone else doing anything interesting? We've got Matt Williams coming into the pits. He's one who I'm pretty sure was going for a 2-stopper. So lap
Absolutely.
20.
So Dwayne gets that position back. So you'd expect they'd have put in a little bit of fuel, and new tyres.
Someone else is in the pit. Sorry,
that's Brenton Hobson.
It is Brenton Hobson. That is an early stall, and he's box scruff on the way out of the pits there. That was close. Well, that was about as close as you can get, because they actually did touch there. And a bit of smoke coming out of the... Was that just from locking up, or is he close to overheating that engine?
He must be overheating that engine, because that car is definitely smoking.
That's a worry.
That's more than a smolder. That's quite a bit of smoke. So hopefully that is just engine heat, and it will dissipate once you get some air running through those radiator. But it seems
It's a long stop. You're not counting this one, are you? But I'm
No, I
sure he's
wasn't.
going for tyres here. Is he still going?
Yeah, he is still stopped. He is.
Yeah, but I can't hear his engine.
Oh. No, he has got his dashboard is blank. He has nothing on his. He has nothing. Oh my goodness.
He's down in 7th. What has happened? We've got to catch the we've got to try and have a look at a replay here. We're going to try and go back and see whether he blew his engine, and that's what he came into the pits for, to see if he could recover it. This happened a while ago, so bear with us. We're rewinding the tape here to see if we can find out what happened. Because this is a sense. This may well be. Sorry. Sorry to keep cutting across you there, but this could be a sensational development.
Lewis Wedding would not be expecting that he's about to unlap himself from Brenton Hobson and take 9th position from the man.
All right, let's listen. We're on board with Brenton Hobson on the replay. Let's listen to the engine as he downshifts for the last corner. I think he's buzzed the engine to death.
And we're actually.
He has.
We have someone. Someone's grabbed Hobbo in the pit lane.
He's obvious.
Hobbo, what has happened, man? Why? How? What?
I've found out that I must be cursed or something. Because I think you guys are saying I toasted the engine and cooked it.
You've buzzed it on the downshift into the last corner. That's what happened, isn't it? The engine's dead.
First time I've ever blown an engine in Automobilista. I didn't know it was possible. So.
Oh, it's possible. We saw it happen to Baker last week, and now it's something that you're a victim of.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame we had that one in the bag, but anyway, so be it. It's come back to haunt me again. It's just determined to make me work for it, this championship.
Oh, it absolutely has.
Between you and Lewis, one of you can't make a mistake without the other one then, apparently unconsciously just wanting to, even the ledger and sort of bring everything back to zero sum, because Lewis had a shocking accident. You had that one entirely in hand, so I'm sure I'm not making you feel better here, but that I was thinking, oh man, this is a long stop. He's getting quite a lot of fuel on board.
I was thinking that's a lot of smoke.
Stairs pointed out that there was no sound coming from your car, and I'm just lost for words.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing, I was just cruising. The start of the race was good there. I'd been unlucky. We had to start on the left-hand side of the road, and I knew I'm not the best at starts, so I knew I'd probably have to take second out of the first corner, and I was quite happy there, comfortable, and just sort of shadowing Lewis and letting him do his thing. And I knew I was much faster, so I just waited and thought I'd see if he'd make a mistake, which he didn't. So I just sort of pushed on and made the pass. And I saw him vanish out of my mirror off to the side of the track, and I thought, well, we'll just cruise this one in from here and pick up some good points and no pressure. I wasn't pushing, and got a bit unlucky.
Yeah, well,
so you got to time those downshifts a little bit better. You got to space them.
It's the first time it's happened to him, so obviously just that little bit too close to the edge this week. But I guess the one solace out of this non-finish for you is that Wedding's not going to take a chunk of points out of you himself, being quite a long way down back there in 9th at the moment.
Yeah, he's probably got enough time to get a couple of spots. He could quite easily still snag a top 5 in this race, the way that it works. Everyone might blow up, who knows? But he can still make some good points. And I don't know how tight we are in the championship. I know we're pretty close. So
4 points.
Yeah, 4 points separate you. But at the moment, Aaron Thomas leading the race is set to take a huge chunk out of you, both of you at this stage, because he leads the race by 8 seconds from Baker as Brock Harvey comes in for a second pit stop in 2 laps. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Looks like he might have made the same mistake you made last week, Brenton.
Possibly.
So that's not ideal.
I won't hold his up. I'll let you call the rest of the race. But yeah, that's lucky. If I could just get out of my own way, we'd do all right in this one. So.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck in the rounds to come, and thank you very much indeed for joining us, Brenton Hobson.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Sensational race leader for some 20-odd laps of this race, and then blowing his engine up after his closest rival on the track, Lewis Wedding, spun off into oblivion. And
speaking of whom, he's just pitted. his engine is still running. He is now exiting the pits, and you know, on the roof of his car stairs, he has the 7-Eleven logo, and anyone who's been to Japan and has been into a 7-Eleven will know the song "Daydream Believer" by the Monkees, and that has this particular lyric: "Cheer up, Sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen?" And it must be said that Lewis certainly has cause to cheer up since his principal rival has crashed out of has DNF'd from this race. So that was a long bow to draw, but nevertheless I did it. Lewis is now hunting down Brock Harvey. I actually saw him unlap himself from a couple of runners. He had more pace than them, so he certainly is not out of the hunt for this race by a long shot. If he can manage to pull out laps a second faster than the cars in front of him, he could easily make his way back up into 6th, 5th place possibly, and keep his chances alive.
So while I was wondering where you were going with that, Aaron Thomas came into the pit lane to make his pit stop. So Baker assumed the lead, and now Baker's coming into the pit lane, and
Dwayne
so is
Davies.
Will Devonish.
Dwayne Davies has DNF'd.
Oh no! What happened there?
I don't know. I cut to him and he was stationary against a wall.
He has, and he was the one who made the earliest pit stop, and it looks like he's had contact with someone exiting the pit lane. And is it Aaron Thomas? Has he made contact with Aaron Thomas, or has he done it all by himself? He's got himself on the curb all by himself. He was side by side with Aaron Thomas and loses his front left wheel. Oh my God!
That's shocking for the...
This track here at Barbagallo is unforgiving to the extreme.
We're down to 7 runners. We thought that 10 was a small field. Goodness me.
There are 8 runners. Lewis Wedding hasn't got past where Dwayne Davies was at the moment, at that stage of the race. So at this rate, well, Dwayne Davies then is now relegated to 9th with Lewis Wedding going ahead. So Brenton Hobson is right. He probably will pick up a top 5 if this rate of attrition continues, despite probably not deserving it. I mean, I hasten to say that because he drove very well early on in this race, but that mistake, and it has to be said, it was a harsh penalty for such a mistake, putting him way back down. But the points penalty that he would have normally felt with a full grid isn't being felt here with only a small number of runners tonight.
Oh, and it must be said, how like V8 Supercars for a mistake and a worse position than the top few, not really counting for much.
And Will Devonish is in 3rd place after all that. So, we spoke of his livery earlier on. The interesting message on the front of his car seems to have applied to a lot of the guys here tonight, including Lewis Wedding and Brenton Hobson, your mate. So
exactly.
But can he hang it on? He's got a good lead over Cracker there in 4th place, and Matt Williams in 5th. These guys have a bit of a gap, but the closest battle on track is this one here, by the looks of it, between Will Devonish and Baker. And let's look at the times there. Last time around, it looks like they must have been outlaps because they were 1 minute. Here we go. We've just crossed the line for a new lap time. 56.9 from Baker, and Will Devonish set a 56.4, so he's closing that one in. The gap at the moment is just over a second, and he's closing that in at something in the order of half a second. So watch out if your name is Baker.
Absolutely. He's definitely not going to be wanting to look in his rearview mirror. You don't need to see that devil's skull and that abrasive slogan coming at you. So Baker done quite well to get himself up into.
He has done quite well, yes.
He is continuing to do quite well, and will hopefully do quite well for the rest of this race for the remaining 20 laps.
Well, both of them going slightly wide in the final corner there, and Will Devonish is going to be sizing himself up a nice steam dam delight here, delightfully Devonish. Trying to work that one in, it didn't work very well. I stole that one from G-Tales on the top chat, but having said that, I had that thought earlier on.
Delightfully Devonish stairs.
Exactly. He'll be wishing he had reversed that message on the front of his car, because Baker will not be able to read it, given it's not mirrored. Baker, obviously, one for consistency. He won't be wanting to. He won't be making too many mistakes. Devonish is going to have to work for it. It's not something he's going to get handed to him on a platter.
No, absolutely, and Baker is incredibly consistent. He's not the sort of driver that you see being flappable. He's unflappable.
He is unflappable.
He reminds me quite a lot of a Finnish person, in that he just sort of puts his head down and gets on with it. But Devonish has managed to close that up a little bit. Only 6/10 now.
Absolutely right. So, Thomas, I mean, that gap is just sort of hanging there around. He's pulling out a few tenths each lap, Aaron Thomas. But the rate he's going, having made his pit stop, and we saw that he got a decent amount of time, a decent amount of laps out of that first set of tyres. For all the talk of 2 stops, I think a 1 stop for Aaron Thomas should be fairly comfortable given the gap that he has at the moment. He doesn't have to push too hard to get it to the end. And he would net himself his first win of this series if he can hold it together for the remaining 18 laps of this race.
Yeah, barring any accidents, under any unforeseen circumstances, he should be able to pull that home fairly comfortably, you would expect. Less than half a second now between Baker and Devonish, so delightfully Devonish indeed, all over the back of Baker.
Well, having said all that, just when we think that everything's settled down in these races, something comes up and surprises us. Because last week we thought Brenton Hobson had it sewn up, and we saw what happened. This week we thought Brenton Hobson had it sewn up, and we saw what happened. And we've still got, a fair good portion of this race to go. So it's all up for grabs at the moment. The gaps are spread out, apart from the battle that you're looking at on track. But, Lewis Wedding currently in last place. Let's see if he's doing anything about the car ahead. Brock Harvey is about 16 seconds. He needs attrition to get more points, I think. 8 points will net you... Sorry, go on.
No, sorry, you go.
No, go on. Please go on, because you were rescuing me from... 8 points nets you 8 position nets you 8 points, funnily enough. I didn't have that in front of me at the time, so I was happy for you to go ahead. But, now you all know why I was stalling for time. But Will Devonish has just had a moment there, and he's just dropped off the back of Baker just a little bit. But no doubt he'll claw that back a little bit.
Absolutely, just a little bit. Just the tip. As I've been watching Lewis I've been watching Lewis since his pit stop. He isn't setting the world on fire. He's only gained about 2 seconds on Brock Harvey in the probably about 5 or 6 laps since he pit, which obviously it's nothing to sneeze at, but he is catching up to Will Devonish and Baker, who obviously are a lap up on him and also having a battle of their own, so that's going to be difficult. I don't imagine he's going to be able to unlap himself from them, considering the situation. And he's also not really doing enough to catch up to, as I say that, he's gained a second during that lap, but
he's the fastest man on the track still. He's setting 55, the last time around was a 55.9, and everyone else is in the 56s or the 57s. The race leader's there, he's set a 56.3 last time around, so the only one in the 55s, and only about 8 tenths off the best lap for this race, which was set by Brenton Hobson, which was a 55.1.
Yeah, indeed, and his best lap for the race was a 55.2, so he's at top flight, he's not far behind him, but I imagine he's probably still carrying a bit of damage. He didn't really stop for very long, so I can't imagine that he repaired anything. So hopefully the damage isn't terminal. Obviously it isn't, because he's still going, but hopefully the damage isn't affecting his pace too much. Want to see him get up there and hopefully get a few more points.
So Brock Harvey and Lee Sanford are the next closest battle on track. There's about 1.2 seconds separating them, and At last check, Brock Harvey was just closing that gap in by a few tenths of a second per lap, so that one's looking like it's hotting up to be a nice spicy one as well. Obviously, Brock Harvey hoping it won't be too spicy. He doesn't want a repeat of last round's theatrics with the deli belly that he suffered. But nonetheless, he looks like he's braking with full confidence in no accidents this week.
Absolutely. When you put your foot on the brake, you don't want to be worrying about something dribbling down your thigh. So it's ideal when that isn't the case. But Lewis has taken a chunk out of his time, down to 15.5 seconds.
Yes, well, we'll follow that one with great interest. But in the in the last few corners, while I've been watching them, Baker and Will Devonish are just closing up again. So we're gearing up here for round 2. Incidentally, the car behind them on track as he goes down the inside here at turn 6, and they're side by side. They're still side by side. They're side by side. Final corner. He's going to have the inside line is Will Devonish, and Lewis Wedding is the car behind them on track. So he's got a tricky job trying to unlap himself while they're battling each other. And if he wants to catch up to Brock Harvey, but Will Devonish, after the longest drag race in Barbagallo Raceway history, has managed to make the position up into second place, and Baker is not going to have a chance to retake that position. Or is Devonish going wide? No, he's not. He's held him up, and all while they've been doing this, Lewis Wedding with the damaged car has caught him right back up, and unfortunately for Wedding, right at a difficult part of the track where it's very difficult for Baker to let him by, and Baker wants to let him by without losing too much time because he wants to have another go at Will Devonish.
It's odd to say that Baker would have to be thinking about letting Lewis Wedding by, considering that Lewis is a lap down on Baker. But he has so much more pace than these two, and like he's got the headlights on. He's like, please, just let me go. But Baker's not going to want to lift off. He doesn't want to lose any time to Will Devonish. Lewis is going to have to get the job done himself, I imagine. It's almost like it's for position, Stairs.
Well, yeah, because Baker's under no obligation to let Lewis Wedding by. Of course, Lewis Wedding is last on track, so Baker has earned the right by being in third place to stay ahead if he wants to. But I don't know if you are Baker, maybe you're going to be driving. You're going to be driving in your mirrors if you've got Lewis Wedding behind you. And it might be poignant just at a part of the track where it's not going to lose you too much time to just ease off the throttle a little bit, slot in behind, maybe learn something from Lewis Wedding's lines, apart from the corner that we've just gone through, because that was where Lewis Wedding came unstuck earlier on. And then maybe, just maybe, if he can catch up to Will Devonish, you might be able to have another go at him, because Will Devonish at the moment is clearing off the gap now. Something in the order of 1.1 seconds, and on the last lap round, Baker was nearly a second slower.
Yeah, so Devonish quickly receding into the distance as Lewis continues to be all over the back of Baker. It might be worth, as you say, and that could have been the opportunity for Baker to let Lewis through, and then just slot in behind him, and you're going to get a slipstream. Just coast your way back up to Devonish, using Lewis as a draft horse, basically drag you all the way back up to that second position, and then have a go with probably fresher tyres.
Well, we saw Lewis was in the 55s before this, and last time round they did 56.6 each, Baker and Lewis, because Lewis has been glued to the rear wing of Baker for the previous lap and a half. But having said that, Brock Harvey did a 56.8 last time. And he does make it through. And he's obviously that job's done into the final corner there. So he has made it through now. But even while being stuck by Baker, he was gaining time on Brock Harvey.
Fantastic. So hopefully Baker can use this and drag himself back up to Devonish and make another challenge for that second position.
Although Will Devonish has just had
I was about to say, it looks like Devonish is dropping back by himself. Lewis has caught right up to him already.
Yep, doesn't take long. Lewis Wedding, obviously. I don't know when these guys pitted. I forgot to write it down because we were too busy still being surprised by what happened in the early part of this race. none of these races turn out like I expect them to, and that's exactly how I like it, because the unpredictability gives me heart palpitations, and I like that. But Lewis Wedding absolutely climbing over the back of Will Devonish like some sort of monkey in an Attenborough documentary, but I wonder if he's getting to be distracted by that sign on the back of Devonish's car.
Very possibly, although he might be a little bit sick of looking at it because he tried to sneak up the inside there. All of this isn't helping Lewis at all. He's still... Oh, sorry, as I say that...
Oh, he's up the inside there as they go through turn 2, 3 and 4, and he nearly had the job done there, but Devonish had the better drive off that corner as they go all the way up to turn 6.
Matt Williams has had a problem. His last lap was a 1:15, so that explains why suddenly Lewis is 9 seconds down on the next car up, not 15.
Well, we're going to try and see if we can find out what happened there. Just look at a replay.
Meanwhile, we've got Lewis all over the back of Devonish coming through the last corner.
And, well, nothing doing on that particular replay for Matt Williams, so we'll go and we'll rejoin that battle there with Lewis Wedding and the guy in second place, who is Will Devonish. And Baker just hanging with this battle here, so this is bringing him back into the fray.
Absolutely, and if Lewis does a fairly messy overtake of Devonish, maybe they have a little bit of contact or something. I'm not saying that he'd do that on purpose or anything, but if he nudges him just a little bit, gets him off his racing line, unsettles his car, that's going to give Baker a lot of a fairly big opportunity to gain some more time. And Baker doesn't need much more than a sniff.
Well, Matt Williams, having had his mistake earlier on, is now the car ahead of Lewis Wedding. Now he's dropped behind Brock Harvey, and so that's the next car up the road, and that's only something like 5 seconds. Oh, the gap is jumping around actually, so it's difficult to tell what it is.
But Lewis is 9 seconds down.
9 seconds, yeah. But, I mean, it's jumping around. It did say 5 seconds. Now it says 6 seconds. So
what is happening?
It's jumping around. We've seen this in previous times. We'll just we'll give you the gap visually, because that's Lewis Wedding where he is. He's coming through that technical first sector, and Scruff is just approaching, or he's exiting turn 6 there onto the back straight. So that is the visual gap for you. But Lewis Wedding's got Will Devonish to deal with before he can even think about attacking Matt Williams for 7th place.
This must be so frustrating. Lewis is just, he has so much more pace, but he just can't do anything with it. He might be going for the...
He's got to run here.
He's going to have it done, or has he outbraked himself? No, he's managed to get it.
Oh,
done.
The switchback for Will Devonish. There's a little bit of sideways movement there, and the better drive for Will Devonish. Wedding had the job done, and now he's been given the blue flags. Yes, we know he's a lap down, but he is faster. But well, he nearly had the job done there, and this is a really awkward situation. Because these two are fighting for the podium. That is Baker and Will Devonish. I don't know, if you're Devonish, maybe you are better off to just let Wedding through, because this is costing them both time, and it's keeping Baker in the battle.
Yeah, I feel like Devonish is defending a bit, and that would be like it's what you do automatically. You see a car in your rearview mirror. Although Lewis is, he's going to be past him.
He's got him this time, surely.
He's going to have him this time, surely. I mean, surely.
Well, he sent it last time and lost the rear on the mid corner, but he's got it nicely tucked in through the inside there. Oh, he's had another exit wiggle, but not enough to give Devonish the incentive to send it back down the inside.
So all of this, that must have been a good 10 laps that he's been stuck amongst those two. He now has 6 laps, and the next car is 10 seconds up the road from him. So what could have been a surprising comeback is probably going to remain in 8th position, which honestly, considering his accident, probably he wouldn't be too upset about. But still, he had the pace to probably get 1 or 2 positions back out of that if he'd had a clear run.
Well, he's 3. No, what is he? No, he's not close. He's lost a lot of time to Matt Williams there. It says that we've got about 13 seconds to the car ahead, so it doesn't look likely that he'll be able to catch them on pace. But the end result of this is that Baker's not fallen off this battle. He still senses an opportunity for second here because Will Devonish might have just eaten his tyres a little bit, trying to keep Lewis Wedding behind him. And I think Baker's in with a good shot here.
Yeah, especially considering he was sort of just sitting back throughout that, and he didn't really need to push to keep up because Devonish and Lewis were just taking so much time out of each other. So Baker might have some very fresh tyres compared to Devonish to make a bit of an attack in the last couple of laps of the race. It's lap 48, Stairs. We've only got 2 laps left once they cross the line.
It's gone quickly. I mean, I've said it a number of times, but our for all our talk of the two-stop strategy, and a late race safety car might have been interesting if we had some guys on fresh tyres at the end. It hasn't eventuated, but what has eventuated was beyond anyone's wildest dreams of what we were expecting to see tonight. Aaron Thomas leading by 17 seconds. Will Devonish and Baker fighting for second place. I mean, Will Devonish, he's been one of the most consistent runners in the Super Series, but he had a horrible night out last weekend, lost a lot of points. He currently sits 6th in the championship, so he's going to gain a few positions in the championship given the results if they finish as they are now. But of course Baker's up there as well, and he's going to get himself a handy bunch of points as well.
Yeah, and Aaron Thomas is going to catapult himself to the
of
head
course.
of this championship.
Yeah. Certainly going to be hard to beat, given that there's only 3 points between first, second, third in terms of the points-paying positions. So that sort of, the consistency is so important. If you blow an engine like Brenton Hobson did, the thing is, at least you still get points. For Hobson will get points where he's in 10th place, even though he hasn't finished the race. So that'll be a point of solace for him. It's better than getting no points at all. But the amount of points that Aaron Thomas is going to get, he was on 51 points going into this round. Hobson was on 54. He's going to net himself a full 20 points, and that is going to lead him. That's going to catapult him into the lead of the championship.
Absolutely. So Aaron Thomas is coming around the last corner to come onto the start-finish straight for the last time, or not for the last time, for the second to last time. He's crossing the line for the second to last time, going into the first corner for the last time. A fairly innocuous race. He's just sort of kept his nose clean, and everyone's sort of fallen to bits around him, but he still had the pace to... He re-overtook Will Devonish in those early laps after he managed to get himself overtaken at the start. And since then has just sort of chugged along, gotten himself into a decent position and extended his advantage 18 seconds over Will Devonish. So it's going to be a commanding victory in the end. Well,
yes, it is. And his lap times are still pretty good. His last time around he did a 56.5 and his best lap was a 55.7, so he's only about 8/10 off his best, and he's just gone around like a metronome. Doesn't seem to have been hassled at any point.
Matt Williams is off, missing his rear wing. Lewis Wedding up into 7th place.
Right at the last minute. That's a lot of points as Aaron Thomas crosses the line to win the race. A fantastic victory after being the most consistent guy with 3 podiums out of 4. And now he's got the race victory that he so richly deserves. Albeit it took a little bit of attrition from the others, but well done to Aaron Thomas. A fantastic...
And Lee Sanford has also smashed his bonnet off. I don't know what he's done. His right front facing at an acute angle. Lewis Wedding has managed to get 2 positions in the last lap of this race, up into 6th place.
Oh, he had an enormous dive up the inside of Brock Harvey there, which is a strange... We didn't actually see... Was there a change of position? Because I thought Sanford was ahead of Brock Harvey anyway, but... well, let's... late race drama there.
Goodness me. Oh, God. And Cracker managing to... going back on the positive for a moment, Cracker with a consistent race, ending up in 4th place for his troubles, so decent result for him. Brock Harvey in 5th. Are you able to get a replay, Stairs?
We're trying to look at a replay of the Matt Williams incident. Obviously, it was the last lap. He's having a look down the inside of Lee Sanford, who was behind Brock Harvey at the time. And he's just lost it in that first sector. And so Brock Harvey had managed to get ahead of both Lee Sanford Well, he was already ahead of Matt Williams because of the incident that Matt Williams had earlier on, but Matt Williams had obviously caught up, and then Lee Sanford, on the last lap, breaks about 150 metres too late, tries to dive it down the inside of Brock Harvey to get that position, and then obviously doesn't make the corner.
And look at his right front tyre afterwards. It is just that is not how you would expect a tyre to be facing, and it's not the way that you would want it to be facing. And I'm not surprised looking at that contact with that wall. That's a hefty shunt.
So as a result, Lewis Wedding has gained 2 positions on the final lap of that race because of abject stupidity, I would have thought. I mean, sorry to sound harsh, but I mean, what was Sando thinking? He was never going to make that move work. But I mean, obviously he's a racer, and you got to send it to to make.
I guess it's the last lap, and he thought he might have had a sniff, and he just lost sight of the braking point, perhaps, and just forgot where he was. But as I say, as I pushed very heavily about halfway through the race, Lewis Wedding, cheer up, Sleepy Jean, because you've managed to get yourself up into 6th place. Considering the accident you did have, man, you're Brock Harvey. I do apologise.
He's not here.
Brock Harvey. What on earth happened there with Sando at the end? You did well to get out of that without any damage, I'd expect.
Yeah, I saw him coming down the inside, and I thought he's not going to make that, so I just opened the steering like just about 2 degrees, I reckon, and just let him go.
I've never seen a more optimistic attempt to pass someone at a final corner. I mean, they're sending it, and then there's like lobbing it over the neighbour's fence and hoping that it'll make.
Oh, that one had a missile attached to it, I think. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I managed to ruin that race for myself, unfortunately. So we had plenty of pace.
What happened to you? What happened to you, mate?
I was right behind Aaron, and I managed to lock up into the same corner where Sando tried to pass me, and took a bit of an excursion. Then actually caught back up to Cracker and passed him. Had caught back up to Will and was pressuring him. Came in to make a pit stop, and then I did the dreaded brain fade and forgot to change tyres. So
oh no! Well, we did catch that second pit stop. We were talking with Hobbo at the time because. Sensationally blew his engine halfway through that race, but
oh, there you go. I was wondering what happened to Hobbo.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it was a race once again of surprises. After Phillip Island, we didn't think that there was anything more that we could be taught in terms of ways that you can lose a race that you seemingly had in hand. We've got a lot of lessons in that from Corey Ott and Brenton Hobson over the last few weeks, but we've learned another one this week.
Blown engine.
Yeah, blown engine.
Yeah, I think I've probably thrown away a podium there because I think I had the pace. I don't think I had Aaron's pace. I'm pretty sure he would have won regardless after seeing the retirements that happened. But I think I had Devonish on a plate there for a while. But anyway, all good. I'm really, really happy for Will. He deserves a good result. He's had some rough luck. So and
an absolutely fantastic drive from him. He got past Baker. He did the move. It was a great move, and he kept him behind. Well deserved, in the we didn't really get to wax lyrical about him on the last lap because of all the other shenanigans that were going on, but Devonish did a fantastic job to finish second there, and a huge number of points, well deserved for him. That's going to catapult him up the standings a bit.
Yeah, great for him, not so great for me because I think I was just ahead of him. So I think, those roles could be reversed now.
Absolutely. Well. Thank you very much indeed for joining us there, Brock Harvey. We've also been joined by Lewis Wedding, who gained 2 positions on the final lap, which will be some solace to you in the championship from a championship perspective. But it all sort of fell apart early on with a very unlucky incident at a part of the track where it's very difficult to recover from after what we saw was a fantastic start.
Yeah. Once again, nailed the start. Might have to change my helmet from Jacques Villeneuve to Jean Alesi, I think. Because I keep nailing these starts somehow, or I get really bad ones. But yeah, and then at the start, did a really good job. I wasn't phased with Hobbo behind me, and I just wanted to run my own race. And even when he went past, I was like, okay, I'll just concentrate and just try and keep close to him, but just run at my own pace and see where I end up. And then obviously went over that little right-hand kink, and uncharacteristically, I've lost it in practice when I've hit the curb there. But this time it just lost it on traction, and it was one of those spins where it wasn't just a snap, it went slowly, so you just can't
I
save
know the
those
feeling.
ones. And I was like, okay, I'll get back in this. I've had spins here before, and then I went over the cliff and in the wall and tried getting up, couldn't get up, and I'd like to thank the circuit designers for
Not putting a fence
Yeah.
at the top of that hill.
or
Well,
just
at least you didn't cross over the
flattening out
fence and
cliff.
lose a lap the other way by by having to do the whole lap again. But having said that, that might have not been that much better because you spent a good portion of time trying to get back up. We saw you finally get the momentum to get back up the hill and get yourself back on the racetrack.
Yeah, I had to, because I got clutch off, I had to hold the clutch in and work all that, and then I just was okay, I'll reverse it and then slide it and just run along the barrier a bit, and eventually got it out. And then after that, I had damage, and I come out. I didn't think I'd be a lap down. I didn't think it took that long to recover, but I was a lap down, and there was Aaron and Baker behind me. And for a lap, I was in front of Baker and kept getting the blue flag warnings, and just got sick of it and had to let him go. And then because I had a bit of damage, I lost it when I was behind him. And
We saw that. Did you end up getting that damage repaired at your pit stop?
Yes.
Because it looked like a handful to drive.
Yes. After that, obviously there was damage, and it wasn't quite as good as what it used to be, but it wasn't too bad until my pit stop once I got used to it. And then obviously after the pit stop, it was better, but it wasn't quite the same. And I was hoping, obviously, I could make some ground up, or there'd be a retirement or two, and
Or three, or two, and
which
two offs on the last lap.
which eventuated. So
it did eventuate, but I was sort of hoping to catch. I wasn't really looking in front. I was just hoping to just go as fast as I can, and I could see on my track map I had Aaron about 15 seconds in front, and I was faster than him by, I don't know, a bit of lap, and I was closing in, and then I caught up to Baker and Will having their battle, and I was hoping that just, okay, he's a lap down, we'll just let him go and continue our battle. And Baker did that, but Will didn't want to let me go, and it sort of, it held him up, like, it held...
Well, we were saying that in commentary, yeah, because Baker ended up still exactly, he was probably closer behind when you finally got by him. Baker was probably closer to Devonish than he was before you got onto the back of him.
Yeah, because I saw Will overtake him and put a little gap on, and then Baker sort of let me go pretty easily, and then I caught straight back up straight away. Like, within half a lap, I was right behind Will, and then for, I don't know, 3 or 4 laps, I'm having a look, and I can see Baker come closer and closer. It's like, if you had to let me go straight away, it would have been a comfortable second, but obviously he wanted to make it a bit more fun for you guys, and
and that it was.
And then something happened on the last lap. I saw Matt must have tried to send it or just lost it coming out of the fast right-hander. Okay, there's one place, and then I saw, I don't know who it was on the right-hand side at the last turn.
Lee Sanderson.
Yeah.
Sanford.
Do apologise.
And I was like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, send is one word for it. But obviously 2 positions there. I mean, watching that on the stream, if he was still watching, Brenton Hobson would have been tearing his hair out because obviously from a points perspective, given his blown engine, that's not good for him. And funnily enough, it means that you're both tied on points once more on 60 apiece. Tied in second place. Aaron Thomas takes the lead. He is on 71 points. So... I mean, you went into Phillip Island tied on points. You're going to go into Winton next time tied on points.
Oh, bloody Winton. Hopefully I do. Well, hopefully I can nail the qualifying lap like I did in the Porsches in the first race there. But for the race, I don't know how I'll go. But hopefully the next time Hobbo makes a mistake, should he make another mistake, I can capitalise. Because he's made 2 in the last 2 races where I would have won the race pretty comfortably.
Except you've also made 2 mistakes in those 2 races.
And I've ended up making an absolute mess of it.
I feel like we had a discussion about this last week, and you both were like, oh yeah, hopefully the other one makes a mistake and I don't next time out, ha ha ha. And then look what's happened.
It's a different mistake.
It is a different mistake, it must be said.
I remember tyres this time, and I did the fuel perfectly.
Excellent.
Except I just... ended up falling off a cliff, literally.
Well, obviously we lament that, and but I mean, from our point of view, boy, does it spice this championship battle up. Thank you very much indeed for your insights on that after what was obviously a difficult race for you there, Lewis. And then we've also got Matt Williams here. So we saw that you had a bit of an error on the last lap. We heard early on that you were going to be two-stopping. How was that race going for you?
Fell apart in the first lap and the first corner of the second lap. And, yeah.
We didn't catch that one. What happened in the first corner of the second lap?
Sando went straight up the arse of me from about 2 feet away, and I've just watched the replay, and he pretty much didn't hit the brakes till he hit me. So.
Oh God.
So there may well be a post-race investigation regarding that one.
A little bit.
Well, we know that he doesn't like hitting the brakes until a long time after you should be braking, based on what we saw in the final lap of the race. But was obviously. You got yourself back up into that battle. You were with Brock and Sando in the last lap. What happened there?
Just grabbed too much throttle coming out of the corner. And I saw those two, because they were on much older tyres than me, so I was pushing a bit harder and back stepped out and tried to save it without lifting off.
Fair enough. Well, obviously...
Worked through practice pretty well.
Worked through practice, but not on very old tyres. Well, actually, you said they were newer anyway, so...
only about 10 laps. So
10 laps, that's not too bad. Yeah.
And then what happened at the end, Scruff? What was on the last lap?
That's what we were talking
that
about.
Was that one.
Oh, my bad. I was.
You weren't listening to a question, Madbird.
I was looking at something else. My mind was elsewhere. I do apologise, glorious leader.
Fair enough.
I can tell you what happened on the first lap.
Didn't
Please.
You just did that, didn't we? Oh, no, yeah, we were talking about the second lap. Beg your pardon.
First lap, after the first corner coming through the S's or whatever you want to call them, he seemed to forget that you can have cars side by side and turned into me and spun himself halfway around and lost me about 2 seconds. That was fun.
There we go. Well, no prizes for guessing how you feel about that particular incident. We'll obviously get the stewards involved with some obviously contentious things going on in a race where there were points up for grabs given the small size of that field. Good opportunity now to remind you of the Short Shift podcast, which we've got a new episode coming out next Monday. And Madbird, you and I, as well as Nether and Bagsy, are going to be guests on that one.
Oh Christ, I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm excited. Stairs. Yeah, gonna have to have a drink for that one.
Well, let me change hats. I'll take the helmet off and put the broadcaster hat on. But yeah, so coming not quite live. It's on a 1 hour delay, but on Monday night we'll cover pretty much everything that we've covered on AMS Australia in the recent couple of months, and just the growth spurt that we've had. We've been a little bit quiet with go-karting, so we figured we may as well cover this. In saying that, we do have a go-kart race this weekend, so we'll certainly get into that as well. And yeah, a bit of Formula 1 news, Supercar news, all your wheelhouse Stairs, so you should be all over it, mate, and then I can hand over the hosting duties to you.
Sounds like good fun. Can't wait for that one. So that's coming up next Monday, which I believe is the day after Mother's Day, the 14th of
Sounds
May.
pretty good. Yep.
Excellent. Also, we didn't really get a chance to update everyone on the Pro-Am results, because obviously, given that was the Pro AB race, we also had a Pro-Am race run tonight. I believe we've got Brenton Foley in the TV time chat here. Are you there, Brenton?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you give us a bit of an update on what happened in the Pro-Am race for us?
I was insanely concentrated on myself, but from what I could see, I had pole, Brendan Ross had second, and Boak had third, and we kind of took off on the field until Phil Boak accidentally made a mistake on a curb, I think, went down to ninth, came back to third, and then it kind of dulled out then, but I think with 42 or 43 laps to go, I had like a 12-second lead-ish, and Brendan Ross apparently snapped a pedal.
Oh, no.
So went straight ahead turn one and was over and out. And then by that time, I think I had 40-ish seconds over whoever's third, so I kind of just backed it off and stayed safe.
So you brought it home for a win.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on that one, Brenton. Long time coming, that one. and richly deserved. So, there you go. That's the Pro-Am results for the Pro-Am result there for tonight. Sounds like another interesting result with surprising DNFs like we saw tonight. We're going to return in 2 weeks' time with the AMS Oz Supercars series. We're going to Winton, which is something that Lewis Wedding is obviously looking very much forward to. Meanwhile, the GT3s are back on Mother's Day. That one coming to you from Magny-Cours in France.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
That's what Brock Harvey's looking forward to. And then next Thursday, we're going to be we'll bring the graphic up so we can show you the dates there. That's not a typo. We're going back to Barbagallo Raceway next week. So the very same track, but we're going to be in the Porsches next Thursday, the 17th of May. And
also worth mentioning what's happening next Sunday, 20th of May.
Of course, yes. I mean, we forget to plug ourselves, Apex Rear Wing. We've got on the 20th of May is the Apex Rear Wing 6 hour, which you would have seen an advertisement for during the piss break in the warm-up. The pit break during the warm-up session. That's taking place on the 20th of May, and there's still plenty of slots open for that. If anyone wants to get their applications in for that.
Lewis Wedding.
Brenton Foley.
I've got to find a teammate first.
Looked like Jamie Snow was pretty keen early on. I didn't know if he managed to get time off work to do it, but if you want to thrash the rest of the field, that would be a pretty strong pairing.
That's back.
We'll see about that.
Anyway,
we have Foley and Lewis on this chat at the same time.
Yeah, well, there we go. Let's match them up now.
Yeah, go on. It's a match made in heaven. He's Brenton, but he's not the Brenton that you're in an intense competition with.
No,
so
if I was to do it, it would be with Boke. I apologise, Lewis.
Or get Boke involved.
We'll get Boke. Yeah, exactly.
He wants to do it. I'm trying to sort out my timetable.
All right, Boke, if you're listening to... Oh, okay, he wants to do it. You're the one. You're the stick in the
I'm
mud.
the one. I'm the hold up.
All right. Aren't you a teacher?
Boke
You
hasn't
don't...
been rejected like that since the high school prom.
All right, well,
Three drivers in the team, maybe?
No. Unfortunately, it has to be 2. That's the rule. But, we'll get on to Philip Boak. I'm sure he will enjoy racing with us on Sunday, the 20th of May. So try and... check out the link, the description below for the link to the event details. Get your entries in. We want to get the liveries all sorted about a week before the race starts. So get on that as soon as you can. Everyone listening and everyone here in...
Even if you've never raced AMS before, join in. Get what's the worst that can happen? It's only 6 hours of your life.
Indeed. Having said that, I think it's probably time for us to round off this live stream. So this has been round 5 of the Automobilista Australia Supercars series, brought to you again by Short Shift Podcast. Keep an eye out for that on Monday next week. Apex Rearing. As always, I've been Stairs, and I've been joined by Madbird.
Cheers, mate. It was a good race. Enjoyed it. See you next time.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Bye for now.